Well, this was news I didn't expect to talk about today. Reggie Fils-Aime, president and COO of Nintendo of America, will be retiring on April 15th. This is shocking for a number of reasons, primarily because he's only 57 years old, which is a pretty young age for many people, especially in the United States, to retire. Although he's obviously had very good jobs, and he worked, as one of the top heads at Pizza Hut, and then obviously Nintendo. And he says he doesn't really view it as retirement per se. He views it as leveling up, where he gets to spend more time with his wife and his kids, which obviously is very, very important. And I'm sure, as someone that was constantly traveling back to Japan and all the various media events, that it's something that he feels he needs to do at this point in his life while he still has some relative youth left in his body. He is being succeeded by Doug Bowser. Doug Bowser has only actually been at Nintendo for like 3 years. He's a relatively new employee. So it's interesting that, they went to him over someone who's been at Nintendo longer. However, when they grabbed Reggie, he basically wasn't at Nintendo at all. So I guess it shouldn't be too shocking. A little bit of history on Doug Bowser. He he went to the University of Utah, where he got a Bachelor of Arts in Organization, Communication, and Business. Then he worked 10 years from 1984 to 1994 as a sales rep at Procter & Gamble. And then for 13 more years, so he basically worked a majority of his professional career, 23 years at Procter & Gamble. He was an associate director of customer business development out in Hong Kong. He did that for 4 years. Then he did 6 years as a director of customer marketing in Latin America, and then he was just a director of Safeway customer team from 2004 to 2003 for 3 years. After that, he actually went over to Electronic Arts. This is when he got into the video game industry for 8 years and 2 months. He started in April of 2007, and then for 5 years and 1 month, he was the Vice President, Retail Planning and Marketing. Sorry, it's interesting reading all the jobs he's had. And then from April 2012 to October of 2013, he was the VP of Business Planning in the American Publishing Division. And then from October of 2013 to May of 2015, he was the Vice President of Global Demand Planning. So a lot of marketing and planning stuff at Electronic Arts. And he did that, again, through May of 2015. Then he joined Nintendo of America, and he's been there, I said 3 years. It's 3 years and 10 months, so almost 4 years. He joined back in May of 2015. That's when he left Electronic Arts and joined Nintendo. From May of 2015 through July of 2016, so 1 year and 3 months, he was the Vice President of Sales at Nintendo of America. And then ever since August of 2016 until present, he is the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing. He's also the one that we've seen out at some of the events at Nintendo of New York, handing out the consoles, like the first sale consoles, the C&D and stuff in the past, and he was the one signing things. And Doug Bowser has just had a bigger presence in general over the past year, probably because I'm sure Reggie Fils-Aime informed the Nintendo of Japan division that he was planning to retire at some point here coming up, and Doug Bowser was probably being groomed to take his place for a while. This also explains why Reggie Fils-Aime has had basically zero presence in Nintendo Directs over the past year or two, because you're not going to continue to make him the face of Nintendo Directs and the face of Nintendo of America when he's going to be leaving. Honestly, it's a bit of sad news. It's obviously not as sad as when Satoru Iwata passed away, because he wasn't planning to retire and he died, and Reggie Fils-Aime is still alive and well and going to go off and spend some time with his family. But I can't help but feel a little sad and I guess thankful for the time that we had with Reggie Fils-Aime over the past 15 years. For basically most of my life that I paid attention anyways, because when I was a kid I just played games and didn't really pay attention to who made them or anything. Didn't even know who Shigeru Miyamoto was when I was a kid. For the past 15 years, Reggie Fils-Aime has basically been one of the primary faces of Nintendo. He's been the one in all the interviews, on all the news shows. He's been the one that gave us a bunch of memes. My Body is Ready. That's one that's over 1 million views on this channel right now. But he's been such a personable person. I'm not going to say he's always been the greatest president ever, but it's hard for me to look at him and feel like he personally is responsible for anything largely negative at Nintendo, especially how we know how Nintendo, a lot of structure works where you're just trying to do your best with what Nintendo of Japan tells you to do. And I'm going to miss him. I think that's the feeling I have right now. It isn't that I'm sad in general. I'm just personally going to miss him just as a brand ambassador for Nintendo and as an executive and as someone who knew his way around interviews unlike anyone I've ever seen before, how to take on the tough questions and talk around them like a champ and somehow make the person who asking the question feel weird for even asking the question. Reggie Fils-Aime is really well known for that. He's obviously a big man, very tall, infectious personality. I have not had the pleasure of speaking with Reggie Fils-Aime. However, at both E3s that I went to in the past, I was literally within feet of Reggie as he was walking by or talking to some other people, and a very imposing figure, a very happy figure, and one I'm going to miss. It's going to feel weird having an E3 presentation coming up in this year that Reggie Fils-Aime is not going to be the host of. If you remember, even despite him backing off on other things, not hosting Nintendo Directs and stuff anymore, he was still hosting the E3 event, and I doubt he's going to be hosting it in the future because he's not going to be working at Nintendo. He's retired. It'll probably now be hosted by Doug Bowser, or maybe Doug Bowser will appoint Bill Trinan or somebody else that's been a public face. Although Bill Trinan has kind of fallen back as well. Maybe he's just been promoted to a point where he's not, supposed to be on camera anymore or whatever. And obviously there was a little spat between Bill Trinan and Reggie that they poked a lot of fun at. And Reggie Fils-Aime, at the center of some of the funniest moments at Nintendo, from the donut jokes to the Reginator stuff at E3, and obviously there was the fake fight with Iwata that was really well scripted and really well done. It feels like a complete end of era for me. Satoru Iwata, when he passed away, unfortunately that was a forced end of era there. And then Reggie Fils-Aime was still around, so it kind of felt like, okay, yeah, it's forced end of era, but there's still Reggie. Reggie and Iwata are no longer, with Nintendo for different reasons, and that is my childhood right there. That's my childhood. That's my adulthood. That's Nintendo as I know it. Nintendo as I know it now is completely different. Furukawa is president, who I know basically nothing about. At least, Kimishima's been around, and I could look at his track record. The Furukawa's been around, but he's been around doing things that don't really matter to me as a gamer. So I don't really know much about him and how he's going to lead this company moving forward. Doug Bowser's been charismatic, and he's been kind and very personable from the encounters that I've seen publicly. But again, what's he going to be like as a leader? I don't know. Nintendo's obviously confident enough to put him in that position, but I honestly don't know because, there's things that could scare you. The fact that he spent 8 years at EA. EA over those 8 years didn't exactly garner an awesome reputation, and he was in charge of marketing and helping garner that reputation. So there's some things that could give you some pause there, but I don't know. I guess for the last 4 years, it really hasn't been that big of an issue in his VP of sales positions and stuff. So I think this is ultimately good for Reggie. Like, good on you. Stepping away, he easily could have probably worked this job another decade if he wanted to. But he's fortunate enough and lucky enough to have made enough money and done enough, have enough in his retirement to have an early retirement and spend the rest of his life with his family and doing the things he would like to do. So I'm happy for Reggie. I just can't help feel a little sad seeing this end of era. So instead of focusing on the sad side of things and the unknown future of how this leadership for Furukawa and Doug Bowser are going to do here, we're just going to have to wait and see and hope for the best. What I'd rather do is, why don't you guys tell me what your favorite memory of Reggie Fils-Aime is? What's that moment publicly, or maybe personally, if you happen to meet him and shake his hand and have him sign something for you? What is your favorite memory of him? Is it, My Body Is Ready? Is it I think it was the 3DS era when there was a commercial or a question or whatever about, why wouldn't someone own a 3DS? And he's like, what's wrong with you? There's a lot of moments, a lot of memories that Reggie Fils-Aime made with many of us that we, at least on a day like today, should just be extremely thankful. The fact that I'm going to miss him, the fact that I'm a little sad that he's retiring, lets me know just how important of a figurehead and a personality he was for me at Nintendo as a representative for Nintendo. He kind of, he was an executive that brought fun to the position of being an executive, and he presented that fund publicly, and it was just really, really neat. It was a humanizing moment, right? I think that's what the best thing I can say about Reggie Fils-Aime is he humanized Nintendo. Nintendo is a company that is a multi-billion-dollar company, all about driving profits and all this stuff, like any other for-profit company. But Reggie Fils-Aime connected with fans, I think, in a unique way that made Nintendo feel more personable. And I think that's part of why some of us feel a connection to Nintendo in general beyond just, it's a multi-billion-dollar video game company. Why are you defending this? Why are you defending that? Well, part of it is because they had people like Reggie Fils-Aime that made Nintendo feel more personal for us. And I'm going to miss that. And maybe Doug Bowser has that in him as well. And maybe we're just going to connect to a new person. Maybe Furukawa will eventually come out of his shell, and maybe we'll connect to him the same way we connected to Satoru Iwata. I don't know. But what I do know is, at least right now, I'm not feeling that personal connection to anyone else at Nintendo. I mean, the last Nintendo Direct, the person that they had presenting it, I think was Takuza or something like that. I'm sure I butchered it. I'm going off the top of my head. Out of Japan, I've seen him before in other things, but again, like as someone who natively speaks English, I'm just not gonna feel that connection to him. It's kind of like when they put Shigeru Miyamoto on. His smile is infectious, his energy is infectious, but honestly, the fact that I can't understand what you're saying natively doesn't make me connect to you. I'll connect to you through your games, but I can't connect to you through your speech as much. And that was what was nice about Satoru Iwata, is he put effort into learning English and trying to connect with people in that way. And I feel like we need someone who speaks English and represents Nintendo to connect to us in that way again. Or some of us might grow a little distant and start looking at Nintendo more like what they factually are, which is a for-profit business, rather than looking at them as a company that cares about their fans a lot. That connection, I think, is really important. So thank you, Reggie, for making that connection for me. And making me basically forget that you were a pizza guy. I just had some Pizza Hut yesterday for the last time. I'm going to have it in a while. And, man, I'm going to miss you. So thanks for everything you did. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for making Nintendo more human for me. And good luck in the rest of your life. And good luck to Doug Bowser. I'm hoping that you do an excellent job. And not only driving profits for Nintendo, but also making fans feel good about buying Nintendo games. Anyways, I'm Nathaniel Rovajans from Nintendo Prime. I'll be sure to enter our giveaway for the Nintendo Switch Super Smash Bros. Ultimate through the Gleam.io link down in the description. 50,000 subscriber giveaway. When we hit 50K, we announce the winner. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.